my name is Jimmy Khalo, and class is now in session. If you don't know me yet, I make music, but I also yap in this specific series where I pretend to be a teacher because it's fun. All right, I am 28 years old, so obviously my Saturn is returning, and I'm in a state where everything is just, very chaotic. I started the year journaling a lot. I have not been consistent to journal daily, but I feel like I've been journaling for like 4 times a week. That's good already based on my previous benchmarks. And one thing that I've been doing with those journals is that I set a crazy level after every entry. So it's out of five being the highest level of crazy, which means like the most chaotic. I have I think the average now is a 4. It's been crazy. And I feel like it's this year where before I turn 29, in a couple months, in October actually, shit just hits the fan. And it's this year where I also decided to lock in and be able to finish a lot of the things that I really wanted to do, which includes the album, which includes creating more content like this and putting myself out there, and I've been I've been in that scene, and I've locked in, and I've released 2 songs so far this year, which makes it, which means my 4 singles are out now, which are all gonna be in the album. So those wouldn't be possible had I not locked in. But locking in requires a lot of sacrifices and a lot of crazy moments, which is why my average crazy level for the year so far, and it's been 6 months already. So this is like a mid-year review. It's been 4/5. It's been crazy, and I feel I highly attribute that to the fact that my Saturn is returning, and surprisingly, actually, if this article is correct, I have the same Saturn return as Chappell Roan, Kylie Jenner, I don't know who else, but this L article right here is that it says that we have the same Saturn return. So I've learned about this concept from a long time ago. And disclaimer, I don't know much about astrology, to be honest. Like I know the very basic concepts, like the typical personality traits of some signs and all that stuff, but not really a deep dive on these types of concepts. So I tried to watch some videos and read some things online about what it means because my Saturn return, or rather, my Saturn is in Aries. And this year, the Saturn has returned in Aries, if my understanding is correct. So then, obviously, a lot of things will change for people within the same, I don't know, birth year as I am, or within the same cluster as I am. But as a refresher for people who do not know what Saturn return is, it's basically your wise elder teacher based on this website, right? So it's the last planet that we can see with the naked eye and mark the perceived boundary of the solar system. In astrology, it symbolizes the structures that contain and shape our lives and the world. It represents both external authority, such as governments, and our inner sense of authority that determines our conscience and moral compass. It's the one that is connected with both our fears and insecurities and with our capacity to commit. So it's a lot of things that is connected to your dedication, to your discipline, actually, to persevere and work hard enough to develop true mastery over ourselves and specific areas of life. So there's a lot of houses, so I've learned, but it allows us to cultivate this discipline, patience, and integrity, which allows us to develop self-respect. So it represents our encounter with the constraints that define our existence on the material plane and the journey of learning on how to work and grow within them. So this is from this website called Moon Almonds, which I like. So my Saturn is an Aries, so I would love to hear what the astrology gods would have to say about this. Or am I allowed to say that? The astrology experts are um, have known about this, but these ideas came from my research. Oh, sorry about that. These ideas came from my research so far. Uh, so far, but before I dive into those, let me just say that this year has been so critical when it comes to my own personal development and fulfillment, because again, this is the first time that I've really locked into to to finish my album. And career wise, I've always been having this need to figure out what the next 10 years would be for me. I know it's such a long span of time to be thinking of. But I'm turning 30 in a couple years, and I want to make sure that I get to have a strategy and a plan on where I'm going to be, whether it's in music or somewhere else. Of course, with my own, a professional career right now, I want it to be locked, or if not locked, I want to know what I can do, right? The sense of security is has been knocking on my door so often now. But anyway, my first idea would be that since my Saturn is in Aries, from the things that I've listened to and learned, with every single thing that I do, whether it's small or big, it is building up to what I deserve, right? Because one key attribute of people whose Saturn is in Aries is that we are impatient and we have a tendency to seek immediate gratification, which I think results to a lot of problems. It requires us to just take our time and know that whatever work that we've been putting in, eventually the time is when the time is right, we're gonna be able to reap the fruits of our labor. And I think one thing that kind of contradicts with this kind of idea is that while Aries is such a it's a strong leader, this specific placement also has some problems in assertiveness, right? So I'm not sure what that means, to be honest, but honestly, I'm just taking it like one item at a time. So I'm gonna take this problem with assertiveness as one problem of its own. There's a lot of second guessing and doubting of oneself. And coincidingly, again, the contrast of that is that there is also a problem in impulsiveness, because yeah, the need for immediate satisfaction has always been there. So I'm trying to make sense out of it, to be honest, but it does make sense to me. I I am I'm very forward, for sure, in my work, in my current 9 to 5 work. I always make sure that I say what I need to say. So I think I'm assertive that way. I'm assertive that way. So I mean the territory comes with it, to be honest. But the leadership has always been there. But I think this specific problem actually kind of arises with my other side, the other side of my life, which is my personal projects, because I tend to doubt my work. And I've been speaking to my psychologist about it, that I need to trust my work more because, well, my psychologist is very nice. She's saying that my songs are good. So I need to know and I need to believe that my songs are good in order for me to be assertive with what I want to achieve with it. And I've been doubting myself since day one that I've been creating and putting out music out there officially. So I think in some areas I am assertive, but with my own work, I always second guess it, to be honest. And then, with all of that being said, I think now with the second idea is that in order for me to get through this, because this phase, the Saturn return, is very critical when it comes to determining, or at least like setting the pillars for what will my 30s would look like, right? So then there's this concept also from Moon Almonds, is that having one foot on the gas is important, but also having another one on the brake, which means you can always push yourself forward, lock in, get the work done. Because a lot of these things, with Saturn returning, it it traces back to the kind of work that you've done, right? Did you actually solve your problem with assertiveness? Did you put in the work to put yourself out there, right? But always take a step back while you do that every now and then in order for you to ground yourself. Make sure that you remind yourself that the gratification will come after, and that we should just keep on, pushing ourselves out there, and knowing that deep within us there's this leader, this Aries that always knows that we will change the world. You know what I mean? A part of the things that I'm also doing to make sure that I put the brake also is to take the slow days. I've been trying to do that now more often. I think it's important as an artist to make sure that I recharge, and then just overall making sure that I'm constantly checking in on myself, because it's really these days, these past weeks, since April, I've been feeling like super super terrible. But yeah, I've been taking my days slowly, my weekend slowly now. But of course, when the momentum is there, I immerse myself in it. And then that's when I put my foot on the gas. And then when I feel so tired already, then I take a step back and just take the rest, take whatever pause is needed, a breather that is needed, which I think ultimately brings me to idea number three, which is believing in the work that I do. Because I think one core theme that Saturn returning in Aries requires a lot of expansion on healing on the fear of failure, and just overall claiming that leadership and the things that you deserve, right? So Aries is a fire sign. That's why there's like a lot of contradicting stuff in here, because it I think it really thrives on the passion, and I think that's something that I don't want to lose ever. But at the same time, on the other side, I think that's where the shadow lives. Actually, is that something pulls me back, and I think I need to not hold myself back, and that would start by trusting my work. I need to be excited with my work. I need to trust that the work needs to be done. It has to be created. Like these videos that I put out, it's not perfect, but it has to be created. It has to be out there. And I have to bring in that energy with me daily. So it's not all about the achievement, it's all about also the success. Because as what this L article is telling us, is that it's time to align your actions with your deeper purpose to build a life that feels not only successful but fulfilling. And honestly, once this album is out, I'll feel the most fulfilled, and I'll be the happiest when that happens. So I'm only like what, 4 months away from my Saturn return. And I know that all of these just serve as a guide for how I do things, but I think it's nice to have this pattern that I could just go back to, and just, no, sorry, not a pattern, but more like a guide. Yeah, a guide. And just getting things in order, getting the discipline, the kind of mindset, what kind of hat do I actually need to wear, because everything that is being said here is true, right? It's 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 actually so true. So that authentic leadership that is being mentioned here in this website called Girl and Her Moon, it tells me that I have to lead with integrity and not force. It means refining my natural courage into wisdom, learning when to push forward, and when to pause, which is basically the ideas that I was mentioning earlier, and when to fight for something and when to let go. And I've been doing and thinking a lot about that. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to be pushing for my art, for my music, for everything that needs to be done in order for it to be finished. And in other parts of my life, it's again putting one foot on the gas and one on the brake, and knowing, being patient with the decisions that I'm going to be making and not be impulsive, like how a usual Aries would be. So I can't wait for my Saturn return. If what they're saying in the music or in the shows, in TV, and film is actually correct, that it will gives you like that sense of alignment, that when you wake up in the morning and smell your cup of coffee, it feels different, it feels nicer, then I'm very excited for it, but we have to do the work. That's it for today's class, which is a little bit of astrology. But again, this is just my initial research, so I'm willing to learn more about that in the comment section. And please don't forget to subscribe, stream my songs down below. I have some links there. And I'll see you in the next class. Toodles.